This video is based on the European Union, but it's going to just look at one specific point in terms of analysis, and it's going to look at a potential issue of being a member of the European Union in terms of trade diversion. So to begin with, to get an idea of how we're going to look at this, let's just have a look at some of the countries and some of the members of the European Union. So just based on historical and chronological order, we've got obviously all these countries that have joined, and at this point here we have Brexit with the UK leaving. And within this video, what we're going to look at is one of the reasons why perhaps the UK wanted to leave, and I suppose an argument from the Brexit campaign in terms of leave. So what we're going to look at is in terms of UK and their ability to create trade deals away from the European Union, something in which they didn't have the power to do as a member. So, when we've got a situation of trade diversion, imagine this is, for example, the UK before they left the EU. And let's imagine that they're considering a certain product which they're quite import reliant on, and they want to buy it to obviously help their economy. And at the moment, if they were to domestically produce it, they're probably quite inefficient, and therefore they've got an option. Do they buy it from within the EU? Or do they buy it from outside of the European Union? But because it's outside the European Union, there will be an external tariff. So what we've got is a situation where, let's imagine that this was the price inside of the European Union. Right? As you can see, it's much cheaper than the UK could produce it domestically. So therefore it looks pretty positive. It looks quite good. But now actually, if we think about the world price and outside of the European Union, the world price is there. And when we look at it from that point of view, the UK are now thinking, well, actually, it's cheaper to buy it from outside the European Union, from a non-EU country, and therefore I'd rather buy it from there, because you'll be able to see how big or the increase in the consumer surplus, which I'll delve into in a minute. But because of the situation of the EU and how the free market works, they cannot buy it as an EU member at that world price if there isn't a trade deal that allows for it. So let's imagine that there is an external tariff that has been placed. Maybe it is part of a trade deal, but the external tariff obviously makes it more expensive for EU members. That means that if they were to buy it, they'd have to buy it at that price. So when you look at it from outside the EU, in terms of the external tariff plus the world price, that is the new price that is available for EU members, such as, for example, before Brexit, the UK. Now, clearly, the reason for that is because the EU, they do not want you to trade with countries outside the EU based on those products which are offered from EU members. The whole idea of a trade or free market is to try and encourage EU member states to trade with one another and boost one another's trade. So therefore they impose an external tariff to try and avoid you from, I suppose, going to outside of the EU and to non-EU members. But for a country that wants the cheapest possible product, then obviously there's issues there. And as a EU member state, you have not got the ability to be able to create those trade deals, because you have to do it based on a collective of the EU. So when we have a look at it from a consumer surplus point of view, and let's imagine we look at it from, that's the consumer surplus for outside of the EU. I mean, with the tariff as well, sorry. And clearly it's still greater than domestically, but if you have a look at it from this point of view, and we look at the differences between the two, clearly there's a massive difference, and the consumer surplus will be so much higher, so much greater, if they're able to trade with the world without that external tariff which is imposed by the EU. Now, clearly, because they're an EU member state, or they were at this point, they do have it at that point there, but it's still, even though it's greater than the world price plus an external tariff, it is smaller than the world price without a tariff, and therefore it still limits the consumer surplus available to that country. And that was one of the arguments with the UK. One of the arguments was that if we were outside of the EU, we could create our own trade deals, and we might be able to get better trade deals, and we might be able to actually get cheaper prices and more available products and greater choice for consumers. And that's fair enough. But you also have to remember that the European Union is a collection of now 27 countries, and therefore, when you're thinking about bargaining power and you're thinking about the ability to get the better trade deals, then you'd say the EU have probably got a better chance. But with trade diversion, it's not about being able to get the best deal, it's about the EU's reluctance because they want to encourage trade within the EU. Now, these are some of the countries that currently do not have a trade deal with the EU, and therefore they're operating on WTO rules. So you could argue, when we're looking at trade diversion, we could use examples of any of these countries to I suppose, again, create that argument as to why the UK might be better off being able to create their own trade deal, especially the likes of, for example, China or the US, which they import a lot from anyway, and therefore try and get a cheaper deal and not have to pay the external tariffs or the WTO tariffs that they might have had to.